Sometimes, as I sort of think about this past year or so in journalism, there are stories that I think stop all of us and stop the nation for a moment, and you get a chance to say, wow, that has moved the needle on so much. And these stories don't fit into one single category, but of course, they deserve our recognition and they deserve our praise. That is what the CJF Special Citation is for. We recognize journalism that has served its highest purpose, giving voice to the voiceless, challenging established power structures, and also getting a chance to illuminate complex truth, I think, that might have otherwise remained hidden from the public. Past recipients of this Special Citation Award have included the Boston Globe Spotlight team, journalist Ronan Farrow, and editor Marty Barron. This year's Special Citation recognizes the Toronto Star for their groundbreaking investigation. Yes. It's an extraordinary investigation that I think the whole country was reading it as it came out. It's a groundbreaking investigation into the sexual abuse that Andrea Skinner, daughter of literary giant Alice Munro, suffered at the hands of her stepfather, Munro's husband. Reported by Deborah Dundas and Betsy Powell, this months-long investigation took extraordinary courage, sensitivity, illuminating the darkest shadows of human experiences. Miss Skinner's story, told first in the Star and then picked up everywhere. You saw this story in the Washington Post, you saw it in the BBC, saw it in the New Yorker, you saw it in Vanity Fair, and it served as a lever for other victims of abuse to come forward all over the world and share their stories and continue their journey of healing. Andrea Skinner's story and the Toronto Star is sort of engaging its full newsroom to tell it, has changed, I think, the conversation, not just about childhood sexual abuse, but also the ways that sometimes reputations get protected and how journalism matters in moments, regardless of whose reputation you're trying to protect. So the CJF Special Citation for 2025 goes to the Toronto Star.
Thank you. First, allow Betsy and I to say that it's an incredible honor for the Star to be nominated for this special citation. None of this, I need to say, before we say anything else, would have been possible without the bravery of Andrea Robin Skinner to come forward and tell her story. One thing all journalists know, and I've always believed, is that storytelling can save lives. Stories have power. They can change the lives of people who tell the stories by giving them a voice and validating their right to their story. It can change the lives of those who hear these stories and realize they're not alone. And it can change the lives of people who hadn't even read the story, but who are affected by new and changed policies and raised awareness. And so one of the most important roles in journalism, and one of its biggest privileges, is raising the voices of those who have been silenced. When Andrea Robin Skinner approached our columnist Heather Malik about the story of her stepfather's sexual abuse and her mother's complicity, we knew this was a story we had to tell. In order to raise Andrea's voice, though, we had to prove her story, support its veracity, and expose the elements that contributed to her silence. That took a newsroom-sized effort. Nicole McIntyre, our editor-in-chief, unequivocally said yes. Jordan Himmelfarb gave me the time to wrap my head around the story so that I could do it justice, so that I could figure out whose story it was I was telling. Was it Alice's story, or was it Andrea's story? Betsy Powell Went to Huron County and dug up what had been hiding in plain sight, talking to lawyers and police officers and finding details that nobody else managed to get. Doug Cudmore, Jim Rankin, Steve Russell, the digital team, my colleagues in opinion who suffered with more work so I could do this. The most important thing to me was understanding that this was not Alice's story. It was Andrea's story. Her mother's name might have brought attention to the story, and she knew it would, and she was prepared for that attention, but it was hers alone to tell. And so we did hours of interviews, personal and sensitive interviews, and worked to gain the trust of Andrea, her family, and the broader community. We did build that trust with Andrea and her family, but the broader community wasn't always thrilled with our work. It exposed complicity. It exposed what nobody was willing and wanting to talk about. But the most important trust was that we built with Andrea, and that trust has been rewarded over and over again in the people and organizations we've helped and the awareness of childhood sexual abuse that followed. The impact has been profound. As Elliman pointed, the New York Times, the New Yorker, documentary producers have all followed our story. But most importantly, we've heard from countless individuals who simply said, "Thank you. Now I don't feel so alone." Andrea Robin Skinner wanted to show others that they need not be afraid to tell their truth and their story, even if your mother is a world-renowned storyteller. And finally, Andrea was able to feel the power of storytelling that comes from finally being able to tell her own. It has been a privilege and an honor to be part of this, and thank you.